I'm tired of watching what I eat. I'm tired of taking 15-minute breaks out to breathe. I'm tired of taking cold baths. I'm tired of healing. Did the cancer spread to my brain? That's what we've been talking about. If you missed the last video, I'll post an update. You can watch the replay. But recently, I've been on this cancer journey and I've been doing extremely well. I got into a snowboarding accident and it caused my vision to kind of go blurry. So I went to an eye doctor who x-rayed my eyes and told me that he thinks I have a brain tumor. And I said, "Are you sure?" And he goes, and I was very calm, right? Because this whole time I'm like, my hands are sweaty for sure. I'm like having a stress response, but like the whole thing is like, Owen, you control your health, you control your fate, like it's all going to be fine. And so he sets me up with a brain scan from a place called Reyes, which is where you can get like brain scans and stuff for like cash money, like no insurance needed. And I have insurance, but sometimes it's better not to use insurance. There's a whole system that, if you follow my YouTube channel, How to Beat Cancer, like we'll teach you all that stuff because there's better, like you can pay for cancer. Cancer treatment is in the hospital. It's a wealth transfer, suck all your money out. But actually beating cancer isn't all that expensive. We'll talk about that later. So I go to Reyes to get a brain scan. And, imagine just like having to work and having to raise kids, knowing that you probably have a brain tumor now, in addition to the other tumors that you had. And imagine knowing that no matter how hard you work, right? Like no matter how hard I worked to defeat the cancer in my body, it's still found a way to grow and get into my brain. So like I'm going through that process over like 2 days. And then finally you get your scan. And then after your scan, you got to wait another 2 days for the doctor to call you. So, all of this is just like intense personal development and intense like fear management and anger management, and joy management, like making sure there's joy somewhere in my life to offset all this psycho pain stuff. Well, I'll never forget it. It was Friday. It was a Friday, and I had just got done doing a training for my clients. See, I teach my clients how to use video software, right? And that's my business. That's what I do for a living. It's bigger than that, but just for your, I teach people how to do what I'm doing right now, which is pull out a camera and talk. But I was doing a training, and on that training, it was the best training I'd ever done. Why? Because I made a video live on the training, and then when I uploaded it to Instagram, it went viral immediately. 17,000 views. And for me, that's viral. And all the class participants, like 30 people, were watching it while it happened. It was like, oh my gosh, it's at 5,000. Oh my gosh, it's at 10,000. Oh my gosh, it's at 11,000. Like watching it go viral on video. And that was like a great day. It was a great morning. The training had just ended. I literally had just said, all right, guys, I'll see you later, and logged off. And then I heard my wife's phone ring. And I heard her say, "Yes, Dr. So-and-so." And so I knew it was the eye doctor calling about our brain MRI results. Like I immediately hung up from the webinar and ran into my wife's office, and she put the phone on speaker, and we just sat there. And, he didn't waste any time. He said, "Okay, are you both there?" We said, "We're both here." And he says, "Good." He says, "I want you to listen. You do not have a brain tumor." And he said, "That's really good news." He says, "But you've also got a severe optic nerve inflammation problem." He's like, your eyesight is on borrowed time. He says, "So if it's not a brain tumor, it's something else, and we got to go figure out what it is." So he told me to go into the ER to get a spinal tap. He's like, "I need you." They don't call it that; they call it something else. But he goes, "I need you to go to the ER right now and get a spinal tap." And he gave us some more. He said, "Look," he apologized. He said, "Look, I'm sorry that I scared you." He's like, "But I've never seen anyone's optic nerves as inflamed as yours are." And he says, "I'm only other." He says, "I would rather be wrong, but have caused you to seek early treatment than anything else." And I said, "Doctor, you're forgiven." He said, call me when you're done at the ER. He said, I'm going to be in so-and-so vacation zone with my family. And he's like, here's my personal cell phone number. So I just want to like really thank him if he ever sees this. Just knowing that he was there was comfortable. So my wife and I immediately just like raised our hands in praise. And we worshiped the Lord. And I remember driving to the ER whistling. Like, I don't have a brain tumor. What could it be? What could possibly go wrong? You know? And I'm just like whistling, driving, you know, gonna get a spinal tap. What's a spinal tap? I don't know. And so I called my wife. I'm like, hey, give me everything you can find about spinal taps. I want to know all about this. So we get into the ER. We got in there very quickly, and we begin this whole process. And ER docs, it's a whole different breed, right? Because it's like they don't know you. They're not going to get to know you. Their objectives are different. It's like the ER is to make sure you're not dying, give you what you need, and then refer you to specialty docs, right? So the ER mentality is very different. And it's a trauma ward, right? They're like gunshot wounds, broken arms, I fell off a ladder, trauma, right? Whereas I've got more of a chronic illness. And so it's a little bit different. I go in there and I say, look, I just want a spinal tap. And he goes, look, I don't know what your eye doctor thinks happens here. He says, but I can't just give you a spinal tap without knowing that it's the best thing for you. He says, so what I want to do is I want to run a brain CT and a couple other things. He says, that will give me everything that I need to know, and maybe spinal tap's the best answer. I don't know. He says, but I as a doctor can't just do what that guy said to do. I said, that makes sense to me. And so I actually told him I only wanted to do one test, and I would come back and do the other test later. He says, that's fine. So I call my wife and I tell her, and she's like, you're an idiot. She's like, get all the tests now. She's like, you're there. I'm like, yeah, but I won't be done till 9 o'clock. I'll miss dinner. She's like, who cares? Just figure it out, you know? So a doctor comes back and I said, look, I'll do all the tests. My wife wants me to do all the tests. He's like, it's great. And then within minutes, he had me into a brain CT scan. And I said, why are we doing this brain CT? We just did a brain CT. He's like, your CT company didn't do this thing. Like, he's like, they should have. It's standard operating, but they didn't do it, so I got to do it. He's like, I've got their brain CT, but I need another look at it. So we did take another look at it. Took 20 minutes. No, they did one other test. I forget what it was. It's like an x-ray. And then they were going to do a spinal tap. And just so you guys don't know, like a lumbar puncture is what it's called. Like they take like a 3-inch needle and they throw it into your backbone, your spine, and withdraw fluid. Ugh. So I wasn't looking forward to it. I knew I'd be numb, but they're like, you know, the pain you'll feel tonight will be some of the worst pain you've ever felt. And I'm like, great. Between like my snowboard accident, shingles, this year has been the year of the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. So hallelujah, you know, like they come in to do the lumbar puncture, right? So I did the brace CT, I did like the x-ray, and I come and I'm waiting for my lumbar puncture. And she picks up the needle and she's like, I'm here to prepare you for your lumbar puncture. And that's when the doctor came in. And he goes, I don't want to do that. He's like, we're not going to do the lumbar puncture. And she goes, oh, okay. He's like, let me just have the room right now. And she immediately like puts her stuff down and she leaves. And I'm like, great. Here's the cancer. Guess what? We found the tumor, you know? So I'm trying to control my body, get out of the stress response, right? Like it's just news. No matter what happens, you can beat whatever happens. Like even if it's 5 brain tumors, you can beat that. Not everybody can beat that, but you, Owen, can beat that. That's what I'm telling myself as I'm breathing, taking my time and just listening to the doctor. And I'm listening not for news I want to hear, right? This goes back to my protocol, right? Like get neutral. And so instead I'm thinking, okay, what questions should I ask to make sure that he leaves and I have as much information from a doctor as possible? And great guy, he says, immediately I want you to know there are no tumors. But we did find out why your vision is blurry. You have a blood clot in your brain. And he says, this is extremely rare. It's in your nasal cavity. I want to say it's nasal cavity. It's in a cavity somewhere and it's on its way out. It's fluid that leaves the brain. So you're getting this pressure buildup, which is causing stress on your optic nerve. Technically, he says it's a stroke, but here's the thing. He says, this is why it's not a stroke. He says, because it's not going to go backwards into your brain. He's like, I mean, maybe he's like, there's like, don't stand on your head. Like, don't be upside down for prolonged periods of time. He's like, but the chances of this thing going backwards into your brain is very rare. It's more like it's coming out, it's leaving your brain. And he says, look, like the only solution that I can think of is trauma, is your snowboarding accident. The second thing is I learned about malignant coagulation, meaning people with tumors tend to experience more blood clots. You guys probably use things like blood clot in your leg, blood clot in your artery. That's common-ish for people. That's not what this was. In fact, what I have is so freaking rare. It's like a subcategory of a subcategory. But I don't say that to demean it. But the doctors make it sound more dangerous than it is. Like, I had to leave. I had to go through like a stroke preparation class. One doctor says like, it's not a stroke. He's like, it's classified as a stroke, but it's not really a stroke. And then but because it's classified as a stroke, they have to do like as they outpatient me, as they like offboard me, they have to go through like stroke warnings with me. And of course, it's all couched in the language of you could have died, and you're weak, and you're fragile, and you're stupid, and if you don't rely on us as the doctors, they didn't say that, but that's kind of like, hey, you're weak, you're fragile, you're stupid. You need the medical system to even stay alive, and that's the thinking that I reject. But I did discover that people with cancer have more blood clot problems. Their blood thickens faster. And it usually happens as a result of trauma, like something happened that caused the blood clot. So this is actually my second blood clotting incident. The first was a few years ago. So they're disconnected in my mind. The doctors say that, hey, 2 incidences in 4 years, I want you on blood thinners for life. So here's the thing. They put me on blood thinners, a product called Xarelto. We were going to do another one called Eliquis. My insurance won't cover it. So we did Xarelto, and they will cover that. It's because somebody shook hands with somebody. Like, don't let people tell you they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. They're different. They do the same job. How about that? Like, Kraft mac and cheese ain't Velveeta. They do the same job, but it's not the same product, okay? But, I get the way insurance goes. Like, somebody shook a hand with somebody, so this insurance will approve that, but not this. They $300 a bottle. Unless you go to their website and register, then it's $10 a bottle. So how many patients are being diagnosed and prescribed this stuff? And they have no freaking idea they could go to the website because they're not like me. They don't examine solutions. They weren't, you know what I mean? Like, how many people is that pharmaceutical company ripping off? Just make it $100 for everybody. You know what I mean? Something like that. Anyway, you've had 2 incidences in 4 years. I want you on Xarelto for life. That was back in May. And now it's the beginning of September. So it's been about 90 days that I've been on Xarelto. And within 2 weeks, my eyesight started clearing up. In fact, to this day, right now, I cannot see a problem with my eye. I cannot see a problem. But I know that if I get into a room with like a doctor's office, or even church, there's 2 things that kind of set my eye off. Like, it's like fluorescent light. But also if there's a lot of lines, like if I'm staring at my vertical blinds, then I can kind of see where the squiggly line is in my eyesight. But I went from having 2 fully blind spots, 2 full-on blind spots, to now I can't even notice it in 90 days. So the medicine works. The medicine works. And even though I hate it, it worked. So I'm in this place right now where I'm grateful that my eyesight has returned. But the blood thinning medicine does a couple things. Number one is it throws off my fasting. So you need protein to regulate red blood cell production. I don't eat a lot of protein on my cancer-free diet, right? Or on my cancer-killing diet. So I noticed that after about 14, I usually fast about 18 hours a day. But I noticed that 18 hours of fasting, I get headaches, just excruciating headaches. So I've been eating more, and I've been eating more animal protein. Because of the medication, I'm off the anti-cancer diet. And that makes me really nervous. But being off the anti-cancer diet also opens the temptation to standard American diet. And that's where I've been going nuts. I'll eat meat And then I see ice cream and it's like, well, I might as well have some ice cream too. And I haven't been binging on ice cream, but I've definitely had ice cream like 4 to 6 times in the last 90 days. I was doing so well with my cancer healing that I almost forgot that I actually had tumors. In January, the doctor told me your tumors are almost non-existent. You have one tumor left and the other ones look like they're just scar tissue. So that's where I was in January. Boom, snowboarding accident. Eyesight goes out. Now I'm on blood thinners. Blood thinners remind me, why did my blood clot? Because I have tumors. Tumors cause your blood to clot. And so, you know, you go back to, I was in this place where I'm like, okay, I can manage cancer. I can manage cancer. I don't need the cancer to go away. I can manage it. You can still have tumors and be okay. But what I'm learning is, nope, if you still have tumors, your blood will clot. I'm on these blood thinners where, like, just last weekend, I cleaned out my garage. Nothing excruciating, guys. Like, nothing in there weighed more than 15 pounds. And I'm a pretty healthy, active guy, so I'm putting, like, boxes away. It was fine. Never once felt like I was stretching myself. But the next day, woke up with just immense pain in my back. Why? Because blood thinners don't enable you to heal. You know, they say you'll bruise easy on blood thinners, or you might bleed. It takes longer for your blood to clot. Well, that's because you're not healing. So my body's not healing, which means I can't run as much. I can't lift weights. Like if I lift weights, and I have been lifting weights, if I lift weights, like just the soreness lasts for a week instead of for a day. And so you guys see the economics of healing. You know what I mean? It's like I'm under all of this stress and I get new cancer scans on Wednesday. So like 2 days from now. And so you're in this place where you're like, I was almost healed. I was living a healed life. Got into an accident. Blood clots. Okay, God. Thankful that you showed me that weakness so I can tailor my lifestyle to it. But reminds me that I'm not fully healed and I want to be fully healed. I want to be fully restored. Paul the apostle had a thorn in his side that he was never fully healed from. Maybe this is my thorn in my side. Maybe I'm still in the process of healing. I don't know, and not knowing is driving me wild. And then I'm on these blood thinners, which cause my body not to heal. So my working out, my runs, my jogs, like they all have to be done in strides. They have to be like, I have to slow down to make sure I don't get hurt. You know, like I can't go rent a scooter, like a bird scooter, downtown with my kids because I'm afraid if I get even the smallest accident, my blood could clot. I'm not riding my bike because what if I get into a bike accident? Like small things, guys. Like what if my kid accidentally runs into me and I fall over? Like not even a big detrimental, but even bumping my head in a helmet could result in a blood clot. For all I know, I don't know. I think so. I think that's true. Pretty sure that's true. But like my beliefs about the medical system don't make that risk any more or less real. So I could easily be like, oh, I don't trust the doctors. And then I get into a bicycle bump, boom, stroke. Can't talk again. You know? I don't know, guys. So I'm in this place of extreme gratitude because I feel like I'm 10, 15 pounds heavier than I was ever, like since this journey, on a mostly well-balanced diet. It's not as cancer diet as it has been, just well-balanced. And, you know, like the blood thinners make me feel awful, but I have to eat, like, it's just crazy, man. Like, and I don't know what to expect. And so I'm kind of like, you know, I know that these scans will reveal either my cancer's grown, and if it has grown, I'll know why, right? Because I've been eating more and, you know, a little more stress in my life. And so what will I do? If my tumors have doubled in size from the last time, I'll fast. I'll do a 7-day fast. I'll check myself into a hotel. I'll do a 7-day fast and they'll shrink back down again. That's the control I'm in, but it doesn't stop the fear. So I can be grateful, and I am grateful. I'm grateful for the green grass, the blue skies, you know, like I'm grateful that I'm alive and here to be sharing this with you today, but I'm stressed, man. You know, like I want to be done with this process of constantly fixing things. It's like having an old beat up car. It's like at some point you're like, I just want a new car. Now let me tell you what I believe, and I'll end this video. I believe deep down in my heart, my soul, my head, that the reason my blood clots is because of the tumors, but also because my body's not functioning properly. There's something going wrong between my gut and my brain. The fuel that I absorb is somehow not producing a balance in my bloodstream. And it's probably the tumors. It's probably the tumors are like throwing in that secret sauce that just throws everything out. And I don't know how to stop that, but I do believe that through proper gut health, I can figure it out. I believe that there are people with tumors worse than mine that don't have blood clots. So there's something off, and I got to figure out what that is. I'm like driven by this belief that God reigns, God is supreme, and he has not made me for this time and allowed me to get this far to kill me. So I have purpose through this. It's only if I give up will the worst happen. 2, I believe that my body can heal from this. So I believe God made me to heal. 2, I believe I can heal. And 3, I am so tired of healing. Healing is exhausting. And I just want to be normal. Whatever normal means.